Conversations with Elders, hosted by yours truly, Louis-Virie Blanche, welcoming you to Glastonbury Radio 432, where we will be TED Talking in tongues with the elders of all ages, all generations, all races, cultures, and creeds. All gender, religious, or political preferences will be honored and encouraged on Glastonbury Radio 432, Conversations with Elders, where it is our treasured pleasure to roll out the red carpet of golden liquid love light to you in honor of the Queendom Come, soul dancing free to life's heartbeat drum, in honor of mother, daughter, sister, lover, priestess, goddess, friend, sharing the blessings of love's perfect stranger, Deja Vu, welcoming you to Glastonbury Radio 432.
It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic.
Aloha, hola, aho, hello. Here we are once again on Conversations with Elders and our Phi brother, Dr. Mosen.
Hello, hi, hey, just the screen got me again, messed me up again. Anyway, hi, thank you for having me. We've had technical difficulty today.
Yes, indeed, one of the paradoxic issues of entropy.
Yeah, it's a technical entropy.
But we will continue our discussion of paradoxic paradigms.
Yeah.
And we'll touch a little bit on RNA and DNA.
Yes.
And then finish off with divine mysteries.
Yes.
So where shall we start? We were comparing the difference between civilization and cultivation.
Yeah. You know what happens, if you go over this a little bit quick, just to remind from the last time, you notice civilization, if you look at the left side, blue left-hand side, is based on function and functional paradigm. Here, civilization basically is cultivated, or cultivation is basically systemic paradigm. And so as a result, we have created, same as the Industrial Revolution, we have created a lot of mechanical paradigm instead of nature, which is biological paradigm. So the biological paradigm or functional paradigm, these are existential reality. That means that this gives us assurance that when I put 1 grain of wheat in the ground, I get 70. I have assurance. When I put 1 corn, I get 700. And if I germinate 1 seed of pomegranate, I get 7,000 of it. So, but on the other side, cultivation, we have been cultivated a culture which is based on Newtonian assumption, and the ancient version of that was Vedic. So existential reality, it functions based on synergy, centropy, and sufficiency. That sufficiency is when we put 1 seed, we get much more. Here we have, on the other side, we have efficiency. When we put 1 in, we get less than 1. That's why efficiency is based on less than 1 all the time. Now, synergy is also associated with vitality, and it vitalizes like a tree. There's a vitality in a seed when it comes to life. In mechanical system, it's devitality or devitalization. So there is no vitality in mechanical system. There's a vitality in biological function. So biological function are operating based on field and flow. Systemic paradigm or mechanical paradigm is based on input and output. The next also identity of civilizational function is cause and effect. And the other one is action and reaction. Action and reaction cancel each other. Cause and effect enhance each other. In regular science, they call this open function, and on the right-hand side is closed system or one-way system. And that's why most of the sciences that we have is one way or a closed system. When on the left-hand side, civilization and nature is based on open function. Function and system, again, function has vitality, system has no vitality. So functions are attributed by vibration, resonation, and fractillation. On the other side, we have mechanical system, or we have been cultivated with oscillation, dissonation, and fragmentation. On the left-hand side, which is the biological, we have rotation, or in creation, we have rotation, vortation, and peristalsis, just like, things move in our blood vessels. On the other side, we only have rotation. So functional process are symbiosis. It's symbiotic and fractillation. On the other side, we have antibiosis, or antibiotic and fragmentation. So all of the functional issues can be well available to all people by empirical data. On the other side, we have experimental data. Everything in the nature is pleomorphic. It changes, it morph. Like, when you are, for example, running, you're doing different activity, all your functions in the body morphs to a different state. And like, maybe your lungs, may take more oxygen, your heart may beat a little bit faster, but mechanical system are monomorphic unless you turn them up. So one on the left side is cellular function, the function of all the cells of the plant, the cells of human, and the other side we have cellular systems, such as cell phone. So these are some of the contrasts that we have between civilization and cultivation. Things in the forest, for example, among the trees, it's very civilized. They can live together with peacefully, and follow the process of synergy, entropy, and sufficiency, while in regular cultivated society, everything is not peaceful, and there is always conflict, competition, contrast, and all that, paradoxes. So these are two different ways we can look if we want to really create an environment which is a very civilized environment, or we want to cultivate an environment. And cultivation is based on somebody's assumptions. Civilization is not human assumption, is what? Creator God's assurance. So these are things we have to see between these two.
So if someone gets the idea that they can out-cultivate civilization and nature, they're playing God, aren't they?
Thank you. Yes.
Just because they've got that white laboratory jacket on and their degrees and the university behind them, right?
Yeah. And also, you gave me $1 million grant.
I'll say anything, just pay me.
So you see what happens, is that this is the process of experimentation. You give me a grant and you want me to prove something. So I only can pick a few variables. In nature, all variables are involved. There is no variable is limited or eliminated. In science, we cannot do all variables. It's only on a few, or maybe sometimes one variable. And then I put it in equation. And I put an equal sign in that equation. And if it doesn't equal, this side doesn't equal to the other side, I put a coefficient to make it work, to give it to you.
You put a coefficient in there.
Because you gave me $1 million grant, you gave me a office with the window, and also you gave me a white coat.
So you're being cultivated by the system that loves to cultivate desire.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why cultivation, systemic cultivation, it causes what? Centralization.
Come my way or no way, my way or
Yes.
the highway.
Highway. So this centralization from the person at the top to the person at the bottom, there is a lot of transformation. There is a lot of translation. This does not happen in the nature.
So over and over again, we keep seeing that if we honor the empirical just observations in creation, we see that there is a beautiful function that was designed by Creator for us to harmonize with.
Yes, that's why
somehow we got the idea that we could outsmart the system.
We are smarter than the function. Our system is smarter than function. That's what we think. So that's why, and the fourth one from the bottom, in the nature, there's cooperation, symbiosis.
Oh.
In system is antibiosis, because it's action and reaction. That's why from there we get antibiotic. That means if there is a germ in my body and it has biological vitality, in order for me to be healthy, I have to create a medicine which is called antibiotic to devitalize that germ. Here on the other side, if my functions are proper as it was created, I will not be hosting any germs into my body. So that's why Avicenna, and then later on in 1800s, Beauchamp, who was follower of Avicenna, they stated as host theory, not germ theory that Pasteur came up with. So it's not the strength of the germ, but rather the resistance of the host that determines the acquirement of an illness.
And that resistance is really dependent upon our electromagnetic field and flow.
Yes, because this field determines my flow and field.
And there is a local field that surrounds every human body or everything in existence, right?
Yes, yes. But a lot of issues, with our food, with our architecture, destroys this field around us. So we don't have that created field that is for proper function of this body. I have destroyed the field for the plants by destroying the soil, as we were talking earlier. So I have destroyed the field around the trees. The symbiotic relation between biology and geology has been interrupted by what? Fertilizer, which is antibiotic, or the systemic booster.
And this process is becoming very crucial. Well, it's already been crucial. You started this some 40 years ago. It's at this point on the planet, it's a very serious issue now.
Yeah, it's big. See, the thing is, there is a carrying capacity. You've heard about carrying capacity, for example, for pollution. Mm-hmm. That's why cities like LA, the carrying capacity has reached its threshold. It's very high. Bakersfield is very high. New York is very high. So there is a carrying capacity for environment to absorb pollution or hold pollution. There is, if you want to say this in a more general statement, there is a carrying capacity of creation for entropy, because the function of the creation is centropical, is not energetic, it's synergetic. Nothing in creation or our body works energetically, it works synergetically. We don't have heart system, we have heart function. We don't have lung system, we have lung function, two different things. Function has vitality, system has no vitality. So we have taken vitality out of the assurance, and we have created what? We have created a system out of what? Which requires insurance.
Which requires you to pay someone for this insurance.
Yeah. See, that's why all of this, cultivation causes centralization. Everything in nature is centralized. Look at rain, water, air, everything is sun is decentralized. So oil, gas, and nuclear is very centralized. So am I going to work am I going to design or make something based on centralized energy sources, which is temporary, or decentralized energy sources, which is what? Permanent. Sun is permanent. Air is permanent. Water and all that is permanent. But as soon as I go to oil, is temporary. So there is a threshold for available resources. So what happened, the future of civilization depends on carrying capacity of environment and also availability of the temporary energy sources like gas, coal, and nuclear.
And in the idea of cultivating creation and civilization, we're dealing with input and output. And when you explain that, the input is always, there's a lack of sufficiency in that process.
Yeah.
Because you put in, what you put in creates an accumulation of toxins.
Yes. Look at, for example, simple example of this. Modern cultivation is based, it's oil-based. You know, I mean, everything is based on oil. Now, there is a limitation to availability of oil on Earth, but also there is a limitation of how much environment can accept entropy and pollution. So there is a race between availability and also what's the word
capacity.
for it? Yeah, capacity of accepting accumulative byproducts. If it's accumulative, that means, you know, environment says I can't take it.
And if we had been in harmony with the function, it would naturally assimilate.
Yeah. Whereas assimilated, it's open field, it's both ways. You know, the thing is, things which is accumulative, that means it's the best empirical statement by the nature that this is what? Not assimilative, it's accumulative, it's toxin, it's entropy. Because nature can accept centropy, but cannot accept entropy.
But we're trying to force feed these things on ourselves and nature, it seems like.
Well, that's, yeah, we came with the science to do that. Force and flow.
And that choice between love and fear, it's like the assurance, we're fearful that we need assurance when nature already gave it to us.
Yes, yes. So that's why it's field and flow versus input and output. That input that we put to in a system, for example, oil, coal, or let's say natural gas, all of these are limited. So how many more generations can we last with that limitation? 1, 2, and eventually the system collapse.
Well, we got to get a ticket on a shuttle and do this someplace else in the galaxy.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? Elon Musk, you know, sells ticket. I think it's $200,000 for round trip.
So if we get to another planet and do the same thing, we're just creating more of the same.
And create more, because all of a sudden, if we get to that other planet, we are really arrogant and we are filled with self-puffery that we think we can change the other planet too.
Do you think the paradoxic paradigm has been fulfilled in terms of what we can share with our audience?
Well, basically, you know, if you can summarize this thing, it's not my words or your words or anybody else's. Because even if the greatest scientist, some years later, somebody else proves when they change their variables, and all of a sudden, you know, they come up with different results and prove the other one was wrong. So the only truth is in the nature. Everything I generate is facts based on my assumption. And facts changes because all of a sudden somebody else, you know, proved that assumptions, different set of assumption. But in nature, nothing changes. That's why truth exists in the nature. So are you going to go with the truth of the created by God, or you want to go by my facts?
I can create some new terminologies, some new rules to play by, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost as if we take the revelations from Creator and try and translate it into our own words.
Yeah. Yeah. All we have to do, observe animals, they try to live in peace and harmony, symbiosis. Everything we have is antibiosis, antibiotic. But what happens, the other issue is that all of a sudden we are infatuated, the velocity of cultivation, the velocity of culture. We want everything faster and faster and faster. And this velocity of cultivation is way beyond the velocity of what? Creation. There is a velocity assigned to everything. If I'm trying to push the river,
Oh,
and it doesn't make sense to you. Correct.
can't we move it over here?
Or let's say, I want to push the earth. There is a assigned velocity for the rotation of the earth. So can I push the velocity? It goes a little faster, or go a little bit faster around the sun.
Why do we not want to get out of sync and out of harmony with the functions of nature? What behooves man to think this way?
Because I think I'm smarter than nature.
But it must have been the system of profiting from, right? To profit from,
Well,
to cultivate the desire of
Yeah,
others, and to centralize means that you're really controlling society.
yeah. See, centralization, it happens to everything. If everything is centralized with me, then everything has to come to me. And it's two issues. One is monetary, and then also power. So that's why some time ago we went to, so as soon as there is centralization, then we have to have border instead of boundary. We have to have walls instead of bridges. We have to have duality versus polarity, because I am right and he is wrong. I have to cultivate that to sell my stuff. We are right. It's us against them and them against us.
Oh, there is no us versus them. There is no us and them.
Yeah.
It's only us.
Yeah, because it's that innate longing, which is attribute of created diversity. You don't see two leaves the same in the forest. You don't see two roses on the same bush the same. There's everything is absolute, and in every detail within and without is diverse. No two fingers of mine or yours are the same.
And it's that diversity that creates this yearning for unity.
Yeah, that's it. That's why. Otherwise, the joy of life is unity. That's why, what happens when a man and a female in polarity, they're unified, they're happier. And their happiness is like that seed. When it divides itself, it
Divides and multiplies.
Okay, if you look at in epigenetic and also in the models of DNA they have presented us with in every book that you open, since all the scientific thoughts are systemic, there is only rotation. You see, there is a curve that rotates. Now, the true functional dimensions of motion is rotation, vortation, and peristalsis. So when it's systemic, has no vitality. Now, DNA and RNA, by all empirical sensation and sensorial faculty, it has vitality. If it has vitality, is governed by the law of motion, rotation, vortation, and peristalsis. And that's exactly happens in our blood vessels for the blood to move. It's the same thing happens in the water in our nervous system for the nervous system to move. It has to have those three components of motion, rotation, vortation, and peristalsis to move something. And you look at those are all in the motion of earth, sun, everything in creation has those three components of motion. The science does not have that. So therefore, there is no vortation here. There is no peristalsis. It's only rotation. It's rotating. So since it has vitality, this chart cannot be correct because vitality is governed by rotation, vortation, and peristalsis.
So again, these are fatal misconceptions.
Yes, it's cultivated. I give you an example. For example, I have a vitality. Let's say I'm in a good health, and they put me under EEG or EKG in the hospital, and I have a good. Let's say I have a perfect pulse. When my pulse is recorded on the best equipment available, EKG, let's say, my heartbeat, you notice we'll see a pulse. Now, that pulse is systemic. It has no vitality because if I drop dead in front of you there and you put that perfectly recorded pulse back in my body, it won't bring me back to life.
Oh.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
But the pulse that's from my body, it has vitality attributes. It has symbiosis. It has a lot of function. It gives a lot of function to all my organs. That's recorded in the best equipment available to you. If you put it back in me, it won't give me vitality. So that means that signal has no vitality attributes.
That signal has no electromagnetic field and flow. It has no vitality.
It has electric flow, but it's that electric flow which is systemic electric and magnetic flow. I am functional.
It's mechanical.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we talked about the sun and the air and the earth and the water.
Yes, and with the sun, the magnetic field, magneticity has to be vertical to reach the earth. If it was horizontal, we would never get any sunshine, never get any magneticity. Yeah.
So that brings us to the marriage of geology and biology.
Yeah, look at this. A tree has a magneticity vertical, it goes up.
Reaching for that source.
Yeah. How is that all of a sudden the water from the roots goes all the way up? That means there is a tornado effect. The tornado effect is vortation.
Oh.
See, like, how is the water, I mean, the blood coming back from your foot to your heart? It has to have a vortational effect to go through to levitational.
So say you've got pain and discomfort, say, in your legs, and that leg, you have a leg giving you that type of pain, a signal trying to communicate to you. What's going on in the electromagnetic field and flow of that particular part of your body?
First of all, pain and allergy is self-diagnostic procedure of human function, human body's function. That means when there is a pain in this point of my arm or your leg or whatever, that means electricity is not flowing. So that blockage in electricity or magneticity in that area to my brain, in my perceptive and cognitive brain, is what is pain. So once we open this, and there are scientists who have really worked on that, like Dr. Panos Papas, the physicist. Once you open this flow of electricity, which is in our nervous system, then what? The pain goes away. So pain is telling me something is blocked here. Now I can have two options here. Either to open this with different means of opening, so that's a naturopathic procedure, we won't get into it, or I take a antibiosis or a pill, painkiller, to this message that's reaching my brain that something is blocked here. I kill the messenger. So then it becomes the issue of what? Issue of feeling versus function. I feel better, but my function has been postponed. The function has got worse.
You're just not receiving the message anymore.
Yeah. Same thing with allergy. That means in a way I'm allergic, all of a sudden I'm reacting to something that was not supposed to be in my body or next to my body.
Well, you know, sometimes when people have joint pain, some of the common options are to inject with steroids.
Yeah.
And how about the injection of saline? What would the difference between a steroid injection and a saline injection be?
Well, the thing is, when they do that, they try to really build a little cushion between the joints. However, those issues can also be dealt with naturally.
You don't have to do invasive options.
Yes. We have to restore the function.
Because we're born to be magnetic. We are magnetically yours, as Francis said.
Yeah, magneticity yours. Magnetically yours. Yeah, or vegetally yours. Electrically, that means when I see you, I'm electrified.
I feel the vibe.
Yeah,
You put out a big field and
therefore,
flow.
you know, yeah, this modern DNA, it's only rotation, but no motion is excluded except very few, like we talked about moon, divine exceptions. Everything in creation is rotation, and peristalsis, attributes of vitality, emotions. So this DNA is the same analogy as I mentioned to you. If I'm under EKG, that signal that you see on EKG or EEG has no vitality. My pulse has a vitality. So this translation, there is a distortion in the translation from function to system, which that translation is what? Missing vitality.
It's devitalized.
Yeah. Because my function was translated to what?
System.
The system. So that translation is eliminating my vitality from what? My perception and cognition.
So this new code of ethics that we must follow to live in harmony with nature's function is key to all world citizens. Really should become more and more aware of the code of ethics that keeps us in harmony with creation.
Yeah, because we reaching to a threshold of environmental, whether if it's within us or outside of us, environmental carrying capacity of entropy. Because entropy, environment has a carrying capacity for entropy accumulation. Same thing with my body has a carrying capacity for accumulative things that cannot assimilate. If I take a lot of stuff, that's accumulative and it's not assimilative and it doesn't process by function in my body, I blow up.
That's that beer belly.
Yeah.
Well, people getting obese, there's a sign of a very empirical offering of observation. What's going on here? You're not assimilating. You seem to be accumulating.
I'm putting something That's not functional. My functions cannot process it.
A lot of input, but no output. You're constipated.
Yeah. So there's a good book about the end of genetics, because most of the things is written about genetic and DNA. It's not correct. However, this book has not really converted, the functional aspect of DNA. DNA is a functional attribute.
DNA is a functional attribute.
It's regeneration, yeah.
So it must follow the same principles of rotation, vortation, and peristalsis.
Yeah. Now, there is also divine exception, but for example, you notice moon, of all the things that we know in the universe, moon does not rotate and does not really vortate and has no peristalsis. It just goes around the earth. So maybe moon is part of the earth.
It's in the field and flow of the earth.
Yeah.
It maintains,
Well,
it's got an emotation with us, does it not?
Yeah. It's very emoted and loyal to earth. That's why lunar calendar is very precise. It doesn't have any change in it. But solar calendar changes because earth goes in vortation around the sun and sun goes in vortation around earth. So earth and sun are happily swimming around each other.
Beautiful marriage.
Yeah, just imagine everything in the universe, in creation, is swimming around each other in rotation, vortation, and peristalsis with perfect accuracy. There is no collision.
Oh. Well, these divine mysteries that we spoke of, there's some peculiarities going on.
Yeah, then let's say, for example, everything, here's another one. Everything by your experience and mine, when it's heated, it expands. And when it freezes, it contracts. But here we have water, when it freezes, it expands.
Divine mystery there.
Yeah. Now, the other part of it, hydrogen is very explosive, hydrogen bomb, and oxygen, we know that enhances a flame. But when you put it together, it puts a fire out, distinguishes the fire.
H2O does it every time.
And then again, it's not H2O, it's H5O.
H5O.
Okay, here's a little bit about hydrogen. The other one is about oxygen and iron. We know when oxygen and iron are very next to each other, it causes rustation.
Oxidation.
Oxidation, yes, it rusts. But here are red cells. It has iron in it. That's why it's red. And how come when it goes and attaches the oxygen, the red cells, and bring it to the cell, it doesn't cause rustation or oxidation in our body? Now, here, when iron goes to rotation, vortation, and peristalsis, it all of a sudden becomes magnet. It has magnetic attribute. So that's why it's electrolyte for oxygen. So here, all of a sudden, being in those three motion in the blood vessels, red cells has become very magnetic. And it goes to the lung. Its oxygen has affinity for magneticity, magnets. It absorbs the oxygen and brings it to the cell and delivers it. And here, zillions of red cells in our body are doing this.
How perplexing.
Am I in control of that function? No, there is something called sympathetic and parasympathetic. That all of a sudden you are doing a lot of exercises or moving or hard work. All of a sudden you need more oxygen. The red cells knows to go and bring more oxygen. And I have no knowledge, how it does it.
Following nature's orders.
Yeah, because again, function, it's a function. Function is governed by synergy, and synergy is we talked about determinism and indeterminism. The function process, the function of synergy is determined by Creator God. The system of energy is processed, and activated by human. So that's why, even if you have all the elements of an apple, it's synergetic process that puts an apple together, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and all that together. It's not, human cannot do it within their system. That's
But
why
I can make some very beautiful plastic fruit that you can sit on your table.
And then you have to vaccinate it, yeah.
And you
But the
can
thing
paint
here
a
is-
portrait of it too. It'd be very
Yeah.
beautiful, but it doesn't
Yeah.
taste so good.
I can change the color, and make it sit on your counter for a month without rotting. It's so bad that no microorganism wants to eat it, except that one microorganism that you know about.
That man guy.
So here what happens, that's why synergy is in the will of God, energy is in the will of man.
Oh,
Okay. So now what happens, if I want to become synergetic and civilized, I have to accept surrender, submission, and service to Creator and creation in peace with joy. And then everything divides and multiplies right before me.
giving you an immediate insurance,
Yeah.
free of charge.
Yeah.
And you can rest assured.
Yeah, because centralization is entropical. Decentralization, division to multiply, is centropical. The seed has to go through what? Decentralization. Divide, decentralize from itself to multiply. So
And if I
that's where,
think only of myself as an individual, I'm not collectively cooperating with
yeah,
the rest of life in a synergetic function.
yeah, with my field and flow. I have to become surrender, submission, and service in order for that division to multiply happens for me. And that's what when something divides and multiplies, it's different than provision. It's called what? Blessing.
Blessing. Mhm.
Because all of a sudden your joy is blessed. It multiplies, it grows. It has what? It has what? Growth, elevation, ascension, and what? Centropy, ever increasing order. So when you are in that path, that means you are in the path toward God.
Oh.
You are in mysticism.
And when bliss sings, you've got blessings.
Yeah.
The bliss of your field and flow emanates beautiful vibration.
It's a very contagious. That's why everybody wants to be in your presence. But if I'm really entropical, everybody comes around me. It becomes accumulative.
So people are drawn to, magnetized to this field and flow.
Yes. That's why magnicity governs immutation, recursion, that means producing of our own kind, and then polarity, not duality, not decursion, not systemic magnicity.
So when we say write a letter to someone, it would be a really wonderful way to say magnetically yours at the end of our letter, right? Magnetically yours.
Yeah. Then if they don't know what we are talking about, what you're talking about, they say this guy has gone nuts.
In field and flow.
Yeah. Because we are taught in the physics, action and reaction, an equation and equation, and centralization and objective, and specialized and focused. not have a peripheral vision, not to be subjective and self-sufficient, because over a specialization, as you know, we know more and more about less and less until we know everything about nothing.
What a goal that is. I can get a diploma for that.
Well, I mean, super, you go to somebody who's an amazing software engineer. Everything is based on duality, on and off, on and off. That's the language. Binary is the language of software cultivation. So all of a sudden, they have no knowledge of a plant or a rose or essential oils or anything else. So they are very specialized and isolated.
Instead of having a wide spectrum and inclusive, all the variables possible.
Yeah, you have to know most of these variables for life so you can relate them together. Otherwise, you have to get some translator to translate you this state to another state, another state, another state, because all of a sudden you have all these middle people. And that's the end of self-sufficiency. Because if you look at the nature in the forest and everywhere else, they're self-sustainable. They have self-sufficiency until we give them the fertilizer.
Now, when we talk about stimulation and simulation.
Yeah, a stimulation is, when we affect our parasympathetic and sympathetic. All of a sudden, I drink a lot of coffee, to wake up, and I take something else to go to sleep. So I'm overriding my autonomic nervous function. It's not autonomic nervous system, it's autonomic nervous function.
But you override the function with your system that you use stimulation to give it effect.
Yeah, either I stimulate or destimulate because I want to govern it. I don't want to surrender to its government.
And the governing functions, again, are all from creator and nation and nature.
It's constitution and condition. Constitution is that synergetic because all of our constitution is synergetic. But conditions, either, I can create a condition that my subconscious is in service to that constitution, or my subconscious could be rebellious to that constitution because I create my own conditions, which is systemic.
Oh. Well, in closing our conversation, what does your heart say that's a good way to end our conversation this time?
Wisdom is the divine intelligence.
It's not artificial intelligence.
Right. Yeah.
Wisdom is divine intelligence.
It's not in the computer. You can see it in the trees.
Oh. Well, that's a lovely, let's let that be our closing words. It's not in the computer. You can see it in the trees.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, my Phi brother, and we will continue. And I'm looking forward to, we're going to do a more in-depth discussion of biochar and the importance of our topsoil, the soil.
Yeah. The topsoil is the marriage between geology and biology. So we cannot go and break all the marriages all over the earth.
The marriage between geology and biology. And geology, is that represented by the sun and the air?
Geology is, earth below, and biology is above.
Biology
like
is
plants.
The sun and the air.
Yeah, let's say trees and the plants and things which provides our provisions and blessings. So this biology is, let's say, a plant. Geology is the earth. But then the topsoil is where all those microorganisms reside, that their function is to keep this marriage happy. And that's why some of the earth biologists, they don't think it's good to till the soil. You always add to it, because when you're tilling, you're destroying the living structure of these microorganisms.
So you add to it, you don't till it.
Yeah.
So we
'Cause
can't
that's it.
till the soil, our soil, the essence of our mind, body, spirit, and soul. We must apply those same principles.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, when you till it, you're messing up the structure.
You're fragmenting it.
Yeah. You're destroying their homes.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. 5-5.
5-5. Bless you, my brother. Thank you.
Be like a seed.
Divide and multiply.
Yeah, yeah.
You find me guilty. You don't even know me. You point your finger. You call me a stranger. You look in your mirror. You don't even see me. You're painting a picture that looks nothing like me. When I'm drowning in the sea will rescue me. When I'm wrestling with my soul, a higher power takes control. You don't even know me. You point your finger. You call me a stranger. You want me to testify, but I've got nothing to say. If you want to crucify me, then have it your way. When I'm drowning in the sea will rescue me. When I'm wrestling with my soul, a higher power takes control. Your finger, you call me a stranger. You look in your mirror, but you don't even see me. You're painting a picture that looks nothing like me. And when I'm drowning in the sea will rescue me. When I'm wrestling with my soul, a higher power takes control. You find me guilty, but you don't even know me. You point your finger, you call me a stranger. You look in the mirror, but you don't even see me. You're painting a picture that looks nothing like rescue me when I'm wrestling with my soul. A higher power takes control. Picture, but it does not look like me. When I'm drowning in the sea will rescue me. When I'm wrestling with my soul, a higher power takes control.
Well, that's it for here and now. But until we meet again, this has been Louis-Virie Blanche thanking you for listening to Conversations with Elders on Glastonbury Radio 432. Bless you.
Quantum physics in the kitchen sink, the energy that follows the thoughts you think. Quantum physics and the cosmic sea, laws of nature too heavy for me. It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic, much too cosmic for me.